Hello, my name is Alasia. I'm a certified substance use counselor, and I'm making these educational videos in order to increase the quality of treatment for people in recovery worldwide. Today, we're going to be talking about the consequences of poor communication between SUD counselors in a treatment facility. The number one reason why this is a problem and how it directly affects patients is that it disturbs their lack of safety. If one staff member is saying one thing and another staff member is saying another thing, patients are going to start to feel like they have to be on guard. And it's going to distract them from not only focusing on their treatment, but making them feel less safe and comfortable, even opening up and being vulnerable in treatment, which is just part of the healing process because they are uneasy because maybe one staff member is saying another thing and now they're getting reprimanded because this other staff member is telling them that that's not okay, but there is no communication between the staff members. Or even worse, a staff member is not standing up for the patient because they feel like one person has more authority than the next, but at the end of the day the patient was told something different. So this creates not only confusion for the patient, but it makes them feel like they have to get people's names and document things and conversations, which could be a good practice in general. However, they shouldn't have to do that to feel like they have to defend themselves or protect themselves. They're here for treatment. They're not here to be a stickler of people's names and all these details. What we're supposed to be doing as counselors and case managers is making it as easy as possible for them, taking care of as much as possible for them so that they could just focus on what they're there for, which is recovering and focusing on their sobriety, focusing on their healing, gaining skills necessary in order to live a more peaceful and a just more joyful, healthy life. It's not their job or responsibility to be, playing telephone because staff members are all over the place. That's not fair to them. And if we are taking into consideration the trauma-informed lens, it's really not a good thing because people with a traumatic background tend to already feel like they need to have their guard up and be guarded. They tend to already be slower to trust people and to open up. And so if they now feel like they have to be on guard in the facility, they are not only not focusing on their treatment, but that could be detrimental to them in so many ways. So that's number one. Number two, when there is poor communication within a treatment facility, really important things slip through the cracks. Now, this is quite obvious, but you would think that more facilities would just be more intentional about communication because a lot of important things can slip through the cracks, and they often do. And the thing is, they're usually preventable things. Now, of course, no treatment facility is going to be perfect because humans aren't perfect. However, there are so many foreseeable issues that a lack of communication will cause. There are so many things that can just be that totally don't have to be a problem if people were just intentional about communication. And unfortunately, in the substance use field, there's just a problem with a lack of accountability among staff members. It's a industry-wide issue, and there are reasons for that. But at the end of the day, all those reasons, they matter, but it's more important to focus on how can we move forward and how can we improve this industry, right? And because we are helping people who need help, right? People who really want to recover, people who have been suffering from a debilitating chronic disease. And so facilities really need to step up and understand that poor communication is not just about the staff members and how it affects them. This directly affects patients because important things slip through the cracks, whether a patient needed this or this happened with them and then another staff member didn't know, or this happened. At the end of the day, a lot of important details will go missing or they'll go unnoticed, and that has all kinds of consequences. Number three is clients perceive you as unprofessional when there's an obvious lack of communication or there's poor communication between staff. And the reason why this is a problem, not only does that affect the way they see your facility, but at the end of the day, how they see your facility affects how they engage in treatment. And so if they feel like this is not really a professional environment, and I'm not saying treatment facilities should be corporate and everyone should be wearing suits. I'm not saying that at all. However, if you're being seen as unprofessional, they are less likely to take their treatment seriously. They're less likely to be accountable to following the rules of the treatment facility. They'll be more relaxed in a way that doesn't signify that they're just comfortable in the environment, but that this is not a place where we're really focused on doing important work. It's really just a place where I'm coming to sign my name in and to say that I was here. It's going to attract people who are just trying to say that they did treatment for whatever their motives are. And so that ultimately affects them in a negative way too, because not only are they no longer taking you as seriously, but a lack of accountability and structure in recovery is detrimental. That's usually what leads to people's downfall, is they'll get out of treatment and they have this lack of structure and accountability. So they go right back to their old habits because that's such an important part of recovery. And if they already have that lack of structure and accountability in treatment, that's just setting them up for failure. And it goes back to point number one. It does also create a lack of safety, because if you're unprofessional, then how am I supposed to be trusting my treatment with you? I really want help. I really want to overcome this thing, but you're unprofessional. It's not fair to patients who are putting themselves in this very vulnerable position to get help for something that has become unmanageable for them, and for substance use counselors to and then reward them with a lack of being professional. So that's a huge problem. The next reason why poor communication is a huge issue is because it causes counselors to burn out faster. So a lot of counselors will be very complacent with the lack of communication and poor communication because, again, unfortunately, there are lower standards of professionalism for this industry just due to how it was created and how it was born and other factors. So some are going to be very complacent and not see it as that big of a deal. However, some who really take their job seriously, or who just really value professionalism and organization, are going to get burnt out faster because they're going to get sick and tired of all these preventable issues. And we have already lost a lot of counselors who came into this field with passion and with a true heart for people. Maybe they are in recovery themselves, or maybe they've been affected by addiction, and they came into this field really wanting to make a difference and really wanting to invest in people's lives. However, poor facility management or poor communication, lack of accountability and lack of standards in the professional setting really cause them to run away from the field. So this is a really huge issue. Burnout for counselors is a serious thing. It's a serious thing for all people working in human services, and a lot of times so much of it is preventable. Going along with that point, number 5 is that poor communication fosters a chaotic environment. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this one because it goes along with my previous point, but no one wants to work in a chaotic environment. It affects the counselors, which anything that affects the counselors directly affects the patients. It affects the patients, their experience in treatment. It affects so much. It just affects the whole experience for everyone. And some people are going to be complacent, and some people are not going to really care because they're there for a paycheck or whatever reason they're there for. But so many people will be affected, and that always will negatively affect the patients. And the last reason that I'm going to cover today is that this lack of communication and poor communication really perpetuates a negative image of the substance use treatment field, a poor image that it already has in the minds of so many mental health professionals. A lot of mental health professionals, or people who want to work in human services, avoid the substance use treatment facility, the substance use treatment field, because of a negative perception of it. And part of that negative perception is it's not about the patient so much as it is about the people who work in the industry. They're perpetuating and facilities are perpetuating an image of disorganization, lack of professionalism, lack of evidence-based practices, all of these different things that mental health professionals and behavioral health professionals are cause them to steer away from the field. A lot of people think that people are staying away from the field because, people in recovery and seeking these services are difficult, and some of them are, but most of them are really want to get help, and it's not the difficult people. That's not unique to people in recovery. There's difficult people all over the world, and all fields and seeking all kinds of services in our world. So that's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is how the substance use treatment field is run. And of course, there are some standout organizations and standout professionals who are really fighting for this treatment industry. A lack of accountability on the side of treatment supervisors, facilities, clinical staff, leaders, etc. And so this is really something that I'm very passionate about, because I know how all of this, maybe it's comfortable and convenient for certain professionals or certain facilities or for certain leaders, but at the end of the day, it affects the counselors and it affects the patients, and that's something I'm not okay with. And so I'm going to continue to make these educational videos. If you enjoyed this video, please give a like and share your feedback below in the comments. Also, feel free to email me using the email in the description if for any questions that you have or any topics that you want me to address in future videos, or any scenarios that you want me to give my feedback on. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you in my next one.